world of cable news screaming and social media echo chambers, it's easy to lose the signal in the noise. Every day, policy is debated, votes are cast, and your tax dollars are spent. We cut through the headlines to bring you the critical context you need, focusing on what's really going on in news and politics. Welcome to the Analytical Iowan Podcast. This is your daily dose of fact-driven politics. Let's analyze today's news. Here's Eric.
Back here on the Analytical Iowan Podcast. This podcast will be for Wednesday, March 4th, as you are listening to this. Now, we are doing this as a TikTok Live. I haven't done one of these in a little while. Thought I would do one to go ahead and deal with a lot of the things that are going on. Now, I've been a guest on other lives and things like that. So let's see who's out there. Let's see who joins in. Let's see if we get anybody that we normally get. Go ahead and send this out there and see if anybody joins in. Now, currently, we are waiting for people to show up here on TikTok. We will see if I get anybody, and if not, I'll talk for a while and maybe shut it down early. I don't know. It's rare that we go an entire live with no guests, with nobody in talking. But sure. Let's see who we got out there. We're going to be talking news, politics, primary night. Probably come as no surprise. Roy Cooper won the primary for Senate in North Carolina for the Democrats. Now, he's more than likely going to win in November. That would be a Senate seat flip. Democrats need to flip at least 4 seats to flip control of the Senate. Now, Roy Cooper being one flip, that would be a good pickup. Shauna says Rob Sand for Iowa, 110%. I think Rob Sand is going to win the governor race here in Iowa. It's a little early. Primary isn't until June, I believe. But I think we are going to see Rob Sand win the primary. Sean says Feenstra is falling flat. Good. Can't stand that guy. Not a huge fan of Randy Feenstra. He is just a slightly less slimy version of oh God, I can't think of his name now. Why am I drawing a blank? That racist son of a bitch who was in Iowa's 4th district. I see Oliver's mom's out there. I am drawing a complete and total blank. That's going to bug me. Steve King. There we go. I knew I'd get there. I knew it was something simple. I knew I'd figure it out eventually, but I think Feenstra is just a slightly less slimy version of Steve King. So we'll see what happens in the Iowa governor's race. I don't think any of the other Democrats have a chance to beat Rob Sand. And I think Rob Sand gives us our best bet at flipping the governor race for Iowa. However, if Rob Sand is not the nominee, I am still going to vote for the Democrat. Shauna says he has no real policies he's running on. I'm guessing you're talking about Feenstra. Yeah, it's all identity. Shauna says he only wants to keep Iowa red. Exactly. Feenstra he's got nothing. He's like most Republicans. It's going to be running on identity politics and fake culture wars. Hi, Bren. Nice to see you out there. Thought I'd do a live while we are waiting on results to come in. Currently staring at what looks to be a runoff election coming up for the Republicans for Senate in Texas. Now, this is bad news for the Republicans, realistically. Um, Shauna says, it looks like Abbott got Texas. Yeah, he's going to be the nominee for governor. I don't know if he will win in uh, November. Oliver's mom says, is there a special election for House of Representatives? I don't think so tonight. I think the next special election for House is uh, next week in Georgia. A runoff. Never heard of it. Okay, Brenna, since I know you're from Canada, I will fill you in. Basically, in Texas, you must get 50% plus one vote. If no candidate gets to 50% of the election, they go to a special runoff election where the top two vote getters from the previous election compete against each other head to head. There's no right in answers. There is no third contestant. Somebody must win. And the odds of that ending in a perfect tie are slim and nil. So somebody would get 50% plus one vote, and they are the winner. Now, a lot of the 50% plus one vote laws come into play because of civil rights, because of slavery, things like that. It was a way to make sure that the people who look like me could still win. Brent says R versus D. Depends. In these primaries, these would be Republican versus Republican. So what we are looking at with a potential runoff in Texas would be John Cornyn versus Ken Paxton. It does not look like either one is going to get 50% plus one vote. They would do a second election because there was a third candidate who has gained, right now, it's sitting at about 12% of the vote, enough that it would be enough to spoil the the 50% plus one, because it is that close between Paxton and Cornyn. However, they only have about 58% of the vote in right now. They are waiting on the rest of it. So it's looking like there could be a runoff. Brent asks, how often is this done? It depends on the state. Now, we are in the primary, so this is just trying to get the nominee for the race in November. However, like in Georgia, was it Raphael Warnock? He won twice on special elections or on runoff elections because he couldn't get over the threshold. Now in Georgia is another state that is 50% plus one. And that election for Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat that is up would be it could come down to a runoff, because there's like 20 Republicans running in that election and 3 Democrats. Depending on how the vote splits, it could be a situation in that race where it is Democrat versus Democrat, because it's not a primary, it's actually for the race, for the whole thing. That happened last November as well in Texas for a House seat. There wasn't a clear winner, and it was 2 Democrats that were there as the top 2 vote getters, and it was Democrat versus Democrat. Brent says, does her seat have to be filled by a Republican? Talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. No. It is an open election. There are 20 Republicans and 3 Democrats running in the same race. And it's winner take. Basically, first one to get over 50% plus one vote wins. Does not have to be a Republican. This is where we talk about how the control of the House of Representatives could flip mid-season, and it's never happened before. Republicans are sitting at 218 elected Republicans, the bare minimum number required to control the House. If the seat flips, there is a special election in New Jersey coming up for Mickey Sherrill's seat. That one is almost sure to stay a Democrat, and there is a special election in California. That one could go either way. But if all three of those races become Democratic, that would bring the margin from to 218 Republican to 217 Democrat. Brent says, are there any decent Dems running currently? In Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, I'll be honest, I don't entirely know who is running. It is a huge field. I don't know who is all there, if they're how decent they are. We'll have to see who actually comes out ahead in that one. Oh, I'm sitting fine. Okay. I was just curious because I only have 3 people in here right now. I was wondering what TikTok was doing with this live. Thought maybe I had a restriction I didn't know about. But they've been blocking my content all day. I've got multiple videos out that are sitting at just a couple of views. It has been very weird. Brent says, MTG has sure changed her tune. Yes, she has. Yes, she has definitely changed her tune. She has endorsed one of the Democrats, I don't remember which one, for that seat. She is trying to rectify her position, to change it, to make it so that she is viewed as more moderate. I think she has her eyes on a bigger prize, maybe running in the Georgia race next year, or not next year, next time in 2028, running for Senate against Raphael Warnock. She might also have her eyes on running as a Republican for the presidential nomination in 28. And that presidential nomination could be wide open. With everything going on with Iran, Oliver's mom says all creators are having Pytho. What is Pytho? Or do you mean problems? Are they having more issues again? Or is the algorithm fucking with us? Oh, Oliver's mom says problems today. Yeah, so the algorithm is fucking with us. Got it. Figures on a day where there's elections, on a day we're talking about everything with Iran, that a new MAGA-controlled app is fucking with us. And, you know, it's not surprising. It should be, but it's not. But I think everything going on with Iran has pretty much killed any potential chance of Rubio or J.D. Vance having a serious shot at winning 2028. They may end up with the nomination, especially J.D. Vance as the sitting VP, especially if he ends up taking over for Donnie because he doesn't make it, say the Big Mac gets him or something like that. Brent says JD is weak. He is. He's very weak. If he becomes president ahead of 2028, I think there is a good chance that he ends up being given marching orders by the Republican Party to fix things, and they're going to be watching him like a hawk. So that way he walks the line, tries to right the ship, so they have a chance at 28. But he's very, very weak. He doesn't have nearly the control of the MAGA base. He doesn't have control of the Republican Party or anything. They are tolerating him at this point, tolerating him at best. Now, looking at Jasmine Crockett's rates, it is way too early to call in Texas in the primary. There is 62% of the vote in. There were problems specifically in Dallas and other areas about people not knowing, not being able to vote, not knowing what precinct they were supposed to be voting in, etc., in part because of some of this redistricting that was going on. Their voting did get extended some to accommodate that. Still too early to call the race for Senate. And one of the things I am worried about here is no matter which one wins the Texas Democratic nomination for Senate, we're going to lose a decent politician. Between James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett, it is currently sitting with Tallarico at 51.7% to 47% for Crockett. Now, I thought Jasmine Crockett would have a better chance. Brent says, when will they call it? Tough to say. It is going to depend on when she ends up, or when they end up getting to a point where Jasmine Crockett does not have the math to win. Now, what they do with that is they look at it and they say, okay, well, right now she is trailing by 72,000 votes, and they are looking at when is there still spots where she can pick up enough votes? Are there even enough votes left out there? With 38% of the vote out there to still count, there's still quite a bit where she could pick up some space and maybe have a chance. Optimistic says, if Crockett loses, can she run again for House of Representatives in November? I don't think so, because I think she would have had to have been filed for the House already to run in the primary today for the House of Representatives. And coming back from a loss is going to be tough. One of the reasons she chose not to run for the House was because they redistricted her and they got rid of her seat. And it is it'd be tough for her to run again in November. Now, maybe there's an outside chance she could mount some kind of a challenge and make it happen. But more than likely, she would be looking for, either another way back into politics or something like that. Gerald of Rivera says, can Crockett be AG? I don't think so. Again, same problem. If you're talking about the AG for Texas, I don't think so. She would have to have been on the ballot in that race. Now, could she be an AG for the Democrats in 2029 when the Democrats take back over? Entirely possible. I believe Democrats are going to win in 28. We just don't know who that nominee is going to be. Way too early to tell. Asking us to predict who is going to run for the Democrats is hard because so many things can change about everything, right? We didn't know Barack Obama. He ran in 2008. We didn't really know who he was till 2006. Somebody can come out of the woodwork at any point. Maybe somebody comes out in these midterms and really impresses, gives a great speech, starts to shine, raises their star power. Maybe Hakeem Jeffries ends up getting primaried out. I think he is up for a primary challenge. Maybe he loses his primary challenge and they elect somebody new as Speaker of the House who ends up impressing. Oliver's mom says, if Crockett don't win, she Neo? I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know where your thought process was going there. But if Crockett doesn't win, it's going to be hard for her to go forward. She needs to campaign for others. Yes, she could be one hell of a firebrand to push other people across the finish line. I think when Democrats take back over, I think if she is not in politics somewhere, I think she may land on her feet somewhere in that new administration. I mean, I thought if she won the Senate, that might raise her status up to ending up being, maybe a potential VP pick. But I don't think she ends up as a VP pick if she loses this race. Oliver's mom says, sorry, my fingers aren't working tonight. It's okay. We've all been there. Just trying to keep responding to comments as they come in, and go from there. So still watching that. I mean, they've had another 0.5% come in, and it really hasn't changed the math much for Jasmine Crockett. Oliver's mom says chief of staff. Maybe. Wouldn't be a bad position. Although that's normally not one you hear a large amount about. We hear a lot about Trump's chief of staff just because she's trying to rein in everybody around him who's completely and totally off the rails. Contagious kindness, thank you. Nice to see you out there. Oliver's mom says, or a cabinet position. Cabinet position I could see. Maybe AG. Who knows where in the cabinet she might fall in. Thank you, optimistic. Now, when it comes to the Democrats, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that the Democrats take the House in November. Senate is going to be a little tougher. See Mike's out there. Let's see. We'll see if we get any guests going here. Haven't seen TJ yet. I was on here earlier in a live with Will. So that was fun. Went a lot longer than I planned. Yeah, right now it's looking like, from what I'm seeing as I'm checking the update, it is still about the same. Jasmine Crockett is still hovering behind Talrico. Oliver's mom says, I saw part of that talking about the live with Will. Yeah, it was fun. Will and I got to talking, and he shot me an invite. And I said, sure. And, away we went. There's no plan for this administration, and especially when it comes to Iran right now. There really isn't. They don't have an off ramp. They don't have a way out. And I think Donald Trump is going to get bored of what's going on, and that's going to be his off ramp. But the damage is done, right? Iran is already going after their neighbors. They're taking out oil fields. They are taking out refineries. They've blocked the Strait of Hormuz, which is effectively blocking 20% of the world's oil and natural gas production. And all we had heard out of Republicans for the longest time was, hey, what about those gas prices? Gas is going to go back up. And one of the things I thought about, Kate says, do you hear a soldier from West Des Moines lost his life in this war? I did not. I talked about it when I was on with Will earlier. I heard that the official number, I think, is 6 soldiers have passed away, but we're hearing from media outside the U.S. that number may be as high as 500. I don't know what the number is actually going to end up at. But all of those lives fall at the hands of Republicans and Donald Trump. Brent said, did he think he could start this and walk away? Yes. It would not surprise me if he ends up declaring, success and moving on. Oliver's mom says it's going to hit an average of 5+. talking about gas prices. Wouldn't surprise me. First thing I thought of, and I mentioned it last night with Boomer and today with Will, is the 1970s oil shortages, where you had cars lined up for blocks. You could only get so much gas at a time, uh, and it was very limited. Now, something I didn't know about it because I was not around yet. Will was telling me that at some points, in order to make people think it was better than it was, is they priced gas by the half gallon. So you were actually paying, I think he said it was something like at one point $1.20 per gallon because it was 60 cents per half gallon. And I compared that to when I started driving in the mid to late 90s, where gas was 80 some cents a gallon. That was extremely high by comparison. Kate says 1979, I was pregnant with my daughter, I remember. Yeah, 70. I thought it was in the 70s. I thought it was late 70s. I thought it was during Carter's term, and that makes sense. Which ended up, I think it was one of the things that cost Carter re-election. And Donald Trump wants us to believe gas prices are coming down when they're going back up. They were never as low as what they claimed. And I saw a video here on TikTok. I don't know if it was true, but a creator was sharing it that there was a gas station in Texas tried to price it at $1.99 to make Donald Trump correct, and was taking a loss on gas on a daily basis just to prove Trump right, and lost so much money that he had to declare bankruptcy. RAE says it was Carter. Okay. I thought so. Kate says, I've looked all over for the $1.85 Iowa gas. Yeah, that $1.85 Iowa gas he was talking about, right outside the convention center where he was giving his little rally speech, it was like $2.49 or some bullshit like that. Like he couldn't even lie into something believable because he could be fact checked right outside. The whole thing is ridiculous. Donald Trump wants us to believe that everything he is doing is going to be winning. He's not winning. Him going through all of it, him going to war with Iran, and yes, it is a war, even though Congress hasn't declared it, because he himself has called it that. So has Pete Hegseth. They have called it a war. And Hegseth saying there's not going to be any rules of engagement is ridiculous. There should always be rules of engagement, because that is defined, I believe, by the UCMJ, as well as the Geneva Convention about the rules of war. Basically, there are certain things you can't do, and if they're willing to throw that rule book out the window, I got a restriction. Inorganic gift solicitation. What? I got a restriction. How did I get a restriction, and where do I appeal? I got a restriction for inorganic gift solicitation when I don't even ask anybody to gift. What the hell? We'll see how my appeal goes there. But what the hell, TikTok? I don't even ask for gifts. I'm grateful when they give me some, but I don't ask. Yeah. Whole thing's dumb. Restriction. Let's see. Appeal in progress. Luckily, it was only 10 minutes, but I'm now not eligible for the For You page, and I can't receive gifts. And I'd rarely ask for gifts anyway. I appreciate them when they come in, but I don't ask. Irritating. They've blocked my content for the basically all day. I've got stuff out there that has been up. It's got 3 views on the day. Just ridiculous. Just a reminder that all my content, including this live, is going to be up over on my YouTube page. You can check me out over there, as well as the TikToks that they're not allowing me to show. Nope, still restricted. Yeah, Optimistic says, yeah, you never ask. I don't ask for gifts. I don't. I figure if you guys want to give them, you will. I appreciate them when they come in, but I'm more out here just giving you guys the information about what I know and sharing my opinion. You know, RAE says, I've heard that TikTok is glitching big time today. Wouldn't surprise me. They've had nothing but problems ever since, they were forced to be sold. Brennex, if I'm on Substack, I do have a Substack account. I do not post on Substack. I did for a little bit, but I haven't for a long time. In part, it is not as user-friendly as I would like. And I haven't found an automation program that works. One of the reasons I'm able to keep everything up over on YouTube the way I do is I use an automation program that takes my content from TikTok, puts it up on YouTube automatically, gives me the audio for Spotify, and gives me, or puts it up on Blue Sky. It doesn't work with Substack, and I wish it did. I also wish it would just let me post straight to Spotify, but it doesn't. And, having to work a full-time job on top of, making the content and stuff, keeping stuff posted everywhere is annoying. It's one of the reasons I gave up on Clapper. I tried Clapper for a little bit. I was gaining some following over there, right when we first heard that TikTok was going away. And I liked it. Problem was, there were times I was spending 20 minutes to half an hour to get one video uploaded over there. It was not very user-friendly about any of it. So I gave up. I said, no, I'm not, I quit posting over there. I liked it, but it wasn't user-friendly. Brent says, we appreciate you. Well, thank you. I'm glad you guys appreciate what I'm doing. I'm glad you guys get something out of the content. That's the whole reason I do this, is try to talk people through all of the bullshit going on. I know there's a lot of fear. A lot of people are worried right now with everything going on with Iran that that it's going to affect the midterms. It will, in that it's going to change how people vote, but it is not going to affect whether or not the midterms happen. There is no mechanism to stop the midterms from happening. Just can't happen. The midterms will happen. We have always had elections. Now, Donald Trump thinks he can do something because of what happened in Ukraine. He was talking with President Zelensky, and Zelensky tells him that, well, they haven't had elections because of the war. Now, they are actively being bombed, and it's not safe for them to hold elections. RAE says, absolutely sane, educated commentary is hard to find these days. Well, thank you for calling me sane and educated. I try to be both. It's hard to stay sane in these crazy times, and I try to have facts to back up what I'm saying. Um, and I try to look things up if I have questions about how things work, because I want to give you guys as accurate of information as I can, and I try to avoid, especially the doom and the gloom. Nothing irritates me more than the doomsayers being like, "Oh well, Donald Trump said this, everything's over. Oh, this happened, it's all over." It is. It's not. We get out of this by voting. Um, we are going to have to vote our way out of this. It's going to take all of us working together and giving Congress some teeth so that they can put a roadblock up to Donald Trump. And he's terrified of losing the House. Trump is very worried that he is going to end up losing the House of Representatives and getting impeached again. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, if he gets impeached, it's not going to matter. Thing is, this time, Republicans don't have a reason to save him. Still 2 minutes. They just don't have a reason to save him anymore, because why would they? Right? He just cost him the House. He just maybe cost him the Senate. It is entirely possible that the Senate flips to the Democrats. If the Democrats can pick up 4 seats and hold all the ones they have up for grabs, that would be amazing. Brent says he's terrified. He is. And see, the Republicans have no reason to save him next time. His political capital will be spent. And they're going to be looking ahead to 2028. And, they're going to be trying to figure out how to right the ship. And I don't know that path forward involves having J.D. Vance. RAE says, impossible every election for the foreseeable future. Yeah. If they don't right the ship and do it soon, he could cost the Republicans a majority in the House and the Senate. He could cost them Congress and the presidency for a generation. This is similar to what happened with Herbert Hoover in the Great Depression. Now, they didn't do something as dumb as bomb another country, but they didn't respond well enough to the failing economy. And because they said, well, it will end up fixing itself in the long run, it'll be okay, that led to the Democrats having control for 20 years. It led to some of the best social reforms we've had. Now, have they worked out great? No. But it was some of the biggest social reforms that had ever happened, where we realized that the government needed to take care of the people. And it started because Republicans pissed off a generation. Brent said, by the way, what do you think is growing on his neck? It looks rough. I don't know exactly what that is on his neck. They say some of the doctors on TikTok here are saying it could be a precancerous lesion of some kind, that he could be getting treatment for precancerous lesions. Thank you for that, Danny. Hey, I guess my restriction's been lifted now. Had a restriction there for a little bit because I wasn't organically asking for the gifts I never asked for. I don't know what that's for. But it could be precancerous lesions. It could be late stage syphilis. It could be something else. They want us to believe that he's just getting treatment with preventative topical cream. Problem is, if that's the reaction from a preventative medicine, I'd call that an allergic reaction and I'd discontinue use. But that's just me. Brent says previous presidents, albeit not perfect, but they weren't felons. Exactly. And the whole reason people are going to ask, why do we have a felon as president? Well, it's because they never expected the parties to ever promote somebody like that. They thought the parties would be smart enough to never push their own candidate that was a felon. Thank you for all the gifts, for everybody who just sent some. Kate says, I was going to say syphilis. It could be. R.A.E. says, late stage syphilis would possibly explain his behavior. Yeah, that it could also be an explanation instead of dementia for his mental problems. But I think it's a combination of both, because his father had Alzheimer's. And they would bring his father into the office. They set him up with an office. They brought him papers that meant nothing. And they would let him play, businessman for full days at a time to keep him occupied because they couldn't convince him otherwise. It's how they ended up dealing with it. Brent says it wasn't written in the Constitution. No, it wasn't. They thought the parties would be smart enough to only put forward good candidates. And instead, you have a party who bowed down and kissed the ring of Donald Trump, put him forward as their nominee. They had the opportunity to be rid of Donald Trump, and that was during the January 6th impeachment of Donald Trump. But because the trial didn't end till Donald Trump was out of office, they said, well, he's out of office. It's no big deal. We don't need to convict him. Let the criminal justice system handle it. Then Merrick Garland sat on his ass, did nothing for 2 years, and said, well, it's a political matter. They should have dealt with it during impeachment. And the party, the Republicans, they'll never put him forward as a mainstream candidate again. Both sides expected the other to clean up their mess, and in the end, nobody cleaned it up, and it just got worse. Brent says blindness is a symptom of syphilis. Now, nothing against anybody who is blind, but I would love to see a blind person try to be president of the United States. Donald Trump doesn't read to begin with, and we know he doesn't learn. If he were to lose his eyesight, he wouldn't be able to learn Braille. So they would have to end up basically telling him everything he needs to know. Oh, he would hate that. He would see blindness as weakness. It would drive him absolutely insane. It would drive him insane. Brent says Garland was useless. Completely and totally useless. I got another violation. This behavior is not in line with our policies. Gifting is suspended in this live. Reason: inorganic gift solicitation. Learn more in live monetization guidelines. In addition, this live is restricted in recommendations and search results. Kate says, what happened to Merrick Garland? It's like he dropped off the earth. Basically, he probably realized that he's not going to be very well liked, and decided to stay out of politics. He only got the attorney general because of the fact he was not given the Supreme Court seat. Joe Biden felt bad that he did not get even a vote for being put on the on the Supreme Court, so he gave him the attorney general spot, thinking he would be better. Jupiter says he can't use picture books then. No, he can't. Still appealing. Stupid TikTok giving me a restriction. Optimistic says, "Love the TikTok shop." Yeah, maybe that's maybe that's why I'm getting these restrictions. I'm not pushing the TikTok shop enough. Um, as I said before, I don't request gifts, and yet I've gotten 2 restrictions this live for the way I request gifts. Makes no sense to me, but okay, whatever, TikTok. I mean, I make about 10 cents a live anyway, so what? I guess what's the difference? Um, just irritating. Gotta love TikTok. I mean, they buried my content all day. Now they're messing with my live. Optimistic. I enjoy TikTok shop. Yeah. Yep. Let's keep pushing the TikTok shop. Uh, it's just frustrating. Brent says, no kidding. Yeah, this whole thing's weird. Double checking in on Jasmine Crockett. It is, she's still hovering about the same percentage. We've gone up about 3 more percent. Still way too early, way too close to call. Same thing with, well, they've now officially called the Republican Senate race as heading to a runoff with 66% of the vote in. They've said that there definitely will be a runoff between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. The whole thing is, normally there wouldn't be like that big of a fight here for an incumbent. Normally the incumbent would just cruise to win. Brent asks, what's a runoff? A runoff in this sense is they're looking for who's going to be the nominee for the Republicans for Senate in Texas. They have to get 50% plus 1 vote in order to be the winner. And looks like neither candidate is going to get 50% plus 1. So here coming up in April, I think it will be, there'll be a second vote. It'll be just between, right now there's 3 people running for the nomination from the Republicans. It's James Cornyn, Ken Paxton, and Wesley Hunt. Well, Wesley Hunt only has 13% of the vote. So at the next one, it would be just John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. Can you go over 50? Yes. Looking at, here we go, North Carolina. North Carolina running for, where is it? North Carolina doesn't say for North Carolina. Here we go. For the Democrats getting the nomination in North Carolina, there were 3 contestants. It is Roy Cooper, Justin Dews, and Marcus Williams. And Roy Cooper had 91.9% of the vote, with 95.9% coming in. And if everybody who voted in the primary votes for North Carolina in the general election this November for Senate in North Carolina, you are staring at Roy Cooper winning the race, 737 votes, compared to, even if you combine the top 2 vote getters for the Republicans, you are looking at about 500,000 votes. So it looks like if everybody shows up and votes in North Carolina, it is at least looking possible or probable. Brett asks, is he Dem? Yes. Roy Cooper is a Democrat. It is looking at least possible that they end up flipping that seat. Now, that would mean they only need to flip 3 more. Now, there could be more voters that turn out in November than what turned up for the primary. Usually there are. But it is looking very good for the Democrats in Texas. Now, one of the other things, speaking about looking good for the Democrats, I'm looking back at the Texas race here, combined between the three Democrats running for Texas Senate, Talrico, Jasmine Crockett, and Ahmad Hassan. You are looking at, what would that be? Basically 1.6 million votes so far as we are going. And if you add up all of the Republican votes, they are currently at about 1.4 million if everybody votes in that primary. Again, that could mean, if this number holds, that there would be enough Democrats that could show up to vote out the Republican. But we all know that we can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. We're going to have to keep campaigning, keep putting pressure on, and go from there. This whole thing is a problem. Brent says, come November, I bet a lot of Republicans stay home. I hope so. I do. I 100% hope so. I don't know that a lot of Republicans could find themselves being willing to vote for a Democrat. That is probably their best answer. Well, I can't vote for a Democrat, but I'll just not vote this time. It'll be fine. And then they can play willful ignorance on the part of it and say, yeah, I didn't vote, but it's okay. The whole thing is Republicans love to vote, right? They do. They love to vote. And they will, if they choose not to vote, it will be, huge as far as helping the Democratic cause, especially if it's in some states where normally you would not see a Democrat win. Brent says Texas is a huge Republican state. It is. Wasn't always, but it is now. In the 60s, it was Democratic. LBJ was from Texas. That was one of the reasons he was picked to be Kennedy's running mate, was because he could guarantee them Texas, or at least they thought he could. One of the things that could, potentially affect Texas would be if the Bush family comes out. There's been rumors that they are looking at, come 2028, endorsing candidates and trying to reclaim the party, including having a presidential candidate that would be a cousin, I think, to George W. Bush, to run for president. Brent asks, where is Ossoff from? He's from Georgia. Now, I think he is going to, I don't know, I haven't heard that there is a primary challenger for Ossoff. So there's that. But I think he's got a very good chance of getting reelected. And from the way he sounds, he may make a decent president or vice presidential candidate in 2028. Democrats have a deep bench. Republicans really don't. Brent says he's a good speaker. He is. He's a very good speaker. And that's the thing. He is a very, very good speaker. Ossoff could be a potential Democratic hopeful. I don't know if he has ambitions of running for president. I don't think he's ever said. But even if he did, he probably wouldn't announce yet. It's too early. We talk about it a lot. Normally you don't get inklings about who is going to run till at least after the midterms. It's very rare that somebody comes out and says, "Well, yeah, I'm running. I'm going to be I'm running for Democratic nominee for president today." Princess Clinton was pissed. Are you talking about Hillary or Bill? And was it about their testimony in front of the Oversight Committee? Oh, Boebert and Hillary. Oh, yeah. I saw bits of that clip. The whole thing's ridiculous. They were trying to embarrass Hillary, and it didn't work. You know, one of the things that pisses me off is we heard for years about Hillary Clinton and her emails, about how she ended up having emails on a private server that wasn't government issue and all of this. And it was such a big scandal. And then Donald Trump is conducting military operations, not from the command center inside the White House, or the Situation Room rather, not from the Situation Room, but rather just from one of the rooms at Mar-a-Lago. And there was no real security. They had some black curtains hung up. And, I mean, they looked similar to the ones I have in my Jesus Christ. Gotta play Move the Puzzle Piece. They were going to deactivate my live if I didn't move the puzzle piece because they've detected inactivity. Like I haven't been sitting here talking for over an hour. Get it together, TikTok. Jesus Christ. Brent says Bill Clinton looked awful as he was lying. I don't know if he was lying or not. But he didn't look good. He did not look good. He looked every bit his age. But he's still younger than Donald Trump. And he looked to be in better health than Donald Trump. I've seen a lot of creators here on this app say they think Donald Trump has less than 6 months. A lot of them are saying 1 to 3 before we finally wake up to the big, beautiful obituary. Weird. Just looking at how the lighting affects, just me moving affects the screen lighting behind me. At least what it appears to do. But yeah, Bill Clinton, them calling Bill Clinton to testify is ridiculous. He, although it does set a precedent now, they have set the precedent for being able to subpoena a former president and former presidents having to testify in front of Congress. Guess what? That means, should Donald Trump make it to the end of his term, he can come before Congress. He can testify. Should J.D. Vance have to take over? Well, at the end of his term, he could have to come testify. Brent says Melania next. She could have to testify. Wouldn't that be something? Get her up there testifying ahead Biggs. Biggs. Not familiar with that one. I don't know who are you referring to by Biggs, Bren? Yeah. It's looking worse for Jasmine Crockett, which sucks. Oh, Andy Biggs. Yeah. Forgot about him. Would love to see him testify. Would love to see a lot of them testify, honestly. Especially about things involving Epstein, the files, who knew what, when. Um, and I think at the end of it, we are going to see a whole situation here where uh, the young guard, when the new Democrats come in, they're going to change the way some of these things work. It wouldn't surprise me after Donald Trump is gone if you do see a constitutional amendment. Brent says Sasha Riley tapes. Biggs was mentioned. Yeah, I haven't heard of everything with Sasha Riley, um, but I would love to see some corroborating evidence. Um, wouldn't that be something if there is uh, things in Donald Trump's medical history that he hasn't shared, like maybe an X-ray of a tent stake being lodged somewhere? Um, that would be uh, that would be hella confirmation. Republicans would lose their minds if that was confirmed. I mean, I thought uh, Bill Clinton had the chance to do the funniest thing ever, and that was simply to end up saying, "Hey, I'm Bubba." And if he would have come out and admitted to being Bubba, oh, Brent says MAGA won't care. Oh no, they would care. They care almost more about whether or not somebody is gay or something like that than they do about a lot of things. I mean, that's why Lindsey Graham hasn't come out of the closet. It's one of the worst kept secrets in Washington, D.C., but he won't come out of the closet because he's afraid that his voters are going to turn on him. They care. They care about the wrong things. Optimistic says it's rumored former President Clinton has Parkinson's. I hadn't heard that, but if true, it is sad. I still think, though, the next presidential funeral we will have to attend is probably going to be for the one currently in the Oval Office. I don't think he makes it to the end of his term. I think both Clinton and Biden outlive him. Optimistic says, but he's still quick and sharp talking about Clinton. Yeah, he is. Very sharp by comparison to the orange buffoon. Donald Trump is... Brent says, Grassley looks way better than Trump. Oh, that's saying something. That's saying something. I can't stand that motherfucker. I can't believe that motherfucker wants to run again for re-election. If he runs in 2028, he will be either 95 or 96 years old. And he wants to run again. Jesus Christ. I think one of the things you could see these younger people vote on and actually pass when some of the boomers and the silent generation like Grassley are out of the picture is actual age limits for Congress and the presidency. Upper age limits. We have lower. I think it's 25 for the House, 30 for the Senate, and 35 for the presidency. Brent says, but he's still functioning cognitively. True. He's still functioning, which is saying something by comparison to Donald Trump. It doesn't seem like Grassley is sundowning, not nearly as bad anyway. Donald Trump is having all kinds of problems. He's giving a briefing, not even a briefing. It was a They got my appeal. Well, that was my appeal for my first restriction. That the one that had already ended. And the that appeal had turned around and they denied it, but I don't know why, because the time frame had finally gone up. It was only for 10 minutes. Optimistic says I can't do likes anymore. Yeah, this app, there's something weird going on with it. I can see other people are able to like, so I don't know why you're not able to. Optimistic. Did it give you a reason, or is it just not going through? Brent says, but he claims his health is perfect. Oh yeah, Donald Trump claims his health is perfect because he can't accept the fact that his health is anything but. Donald Trump is a narcissist, and it's clear he's having problems to everybody but him. He will never admit he's having a problem. He could be laying there minutes away from death, and he would not accept the fact that he is dying. He would tell you he's as fit as he was at 20. It's really bizarre. Oh, Optimistic left and came back. I wonder if that fixed it for you, Optimistic. But no, Donald Trump, he gave out Medal of Honor, and then was talking about the Iran war, and then turned around and was talking about drapes with the ballroom. Completely weird and completely bonkers behavior. Brent says the Trump kids are quiet. Yeah, they are. They're not saying a damn thing. Especially Ivanka. Yeah, I think I don't know why she's being so quiet. Other than I think they're starting to realize that there is going to be problems on the horizon for him when he's gone, and he's not going to be able to protect them. Brent says they're embarrassed. Could be. Could very easy be that they are embarrassed. I don't think, though, that Eric and Don Jr. get embarrassed. Ivanka and Tiffany, maybe. I think they're a little more intelligent, especially emotionally, compared to the other two. I think Don and Eric are more like their father, as scary as that is to say. But when Trump's gone, they are going to end up possibly even having to change their name. It's going to be similar to what happened in the 1950s after in Germany, after the downfall of the regime that was in control through 45. Weirdly enough, you couldn't find anybody in Germany who supported that group ever. So it's just weird. The red hats are going to go away when Donald Trump is gone. Brent says they will have to get total face restoration. Yeah, they're going to need plastic surgery or something to look completely different. They're going to go into hiding probably when he is gone and end up, it's not going to work, right? Like, he has ruined their name and their reputation. Now, I know when it comes to what's going on, there are people on the Republican side think we need to have, like, the next Republican president should be Don Jr., the 8 years of Don Jr., then 8 years of Eric, then 8 years of Barron or whatever. It's not going to happen. The next president's probably going to be a Democrat. They're going to fix some of it. My fear is that they're not going to fix enough of it, and that they are going to end up you know, getting voted back out or having people vote the House against him in the midterms, like what happened to Biden, because it wasn't fixed fast enough. It's going to take a long time to fix all of the problems that this administration caused, not just with the programs and the things that they have destroyed, but with how they have handled relations with the rest of the world. It is just going to be something that's going to take time to fix. I mean, we've burned our allies. Brent asks, is most of Trump's changes reversible? They're reversible. The problem is Joe Biden had to do some of the same fixing during the first part of his term, trying to fix relations with other countries. Brent says Canada is out. Yeah. It's going to take a lot of work to fix what was once a very strong ally in Canada. We're going to have to go in, really fix those issues, and the rest of the world is going to feel the same way. Like, we could come in and say, well, it's different now, he's gone. If we don't put some changes in place, like maybe a constitutional amendment prohibiting a felon from being president, or putting more limits on presidential power, something like that, to where somebody as dumb and as narcissistic as Donald Trump can't be president. You know, they're not going to be able, like, the rest of the world is not going to just listen to our promises of, oh, trust us, we fixed it, it's all good now. That's not going to be good enough. We tried that once under Biden. Brent says the Federal Reserve, I'm sure, is a mess. It's not a mess yet, but it will be when Jerome Powell ends up hitting the end of his term, because Donald Trump wants to put in his yes man. Donald Trump wants somebody who's going to drop interest rates to like 1%. Why? Because if they turn around and they can drop the interest rates that way, they can turn around and it makes it cheap to borrow money for rich people. Brent says, I thought Powell was out. I think he's got until, I think it's May. Oh, I got a browser here open. Let's find out. Yep, May 15th. So he's got just a little bit of time left. But see, Donald Trump wants interest rates back to what they were like before or during the pandemic. And who's going in? I'm not sure. There's at least one person that they want to put in. That is a hardcore MAGA Trump loyalist. But also, I think it's Tom Tillis of North Carolina has said that he's going to block anybody Trump tries to put in. So who knows what the ultimate answer could be here. Brent says, can they do that? Drop rates like that? They can. They're not supposed to. The thing with what the Fed typically is supposed to be completely and totally independent of the presidency, so that they are looking at long-term modeling. You know, they're looking at, if we drop interest rates down to 2% today, what's that going to look like in 20 years? You know, they're looking at long-term, right, with a gun to their head. You know, they're looking at long-term policy and how these policies affect things. I got lucky when I bought my house because of COVID. The interest rate was so low, it wasn't funny. But they had it so low trying to spur the market because the economy needed a boost. Typically, interest rates go up when the economy is doing well. They go down when the economy sucks. Now, they sometimes will jump quite a bit. Um, I remember my folks were talking about uh, when I bought my house, they were talking about my interest rate, about how good of a rate it was. And they said, well, yeah, in the 90s, my parents put an addition on the house they had, and they got a home loan for it. And they waited only a couple of months to finish the paperwork on the loan. They knew they could get approved. But the banker said, oh, yeah, everything is looking like the rate's going to go down. So they say, okay, we're going to wait and see if we can get a cheaper interest rate. And then I don't know what happened economically. It was actually right around, I think it was in the 90s, 91, I think it was 92. Because I think it was the same year as the election that Clinton won. I was knee-high to a grasshopper, but anyway, the economy took a shit, and Bill Clinton cruises to victory in that election. But in the meantime, they were saying their interest rate went from 6% to over 12. Lucy Dog says, my first home was 17%. Yeah. And it's usually that high when the economy is doing well. If the economy is, if they're trying, they try to balance the interest rate against the economy, trying to avoid inflation. They're trying to balance things out to keep it from us going into either a depression or a recession, things like that. Just dropping the interest rate because the president says to, because he wants the ability to borrow money on the cheap, is not good economic policy. Donald Trump just wants it to be cheap because it makes a good headline for him. Donald Trump is all about how do things look like for him. He doesn't care about the real world costs or the real world effects about anything he does. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if we get to a point with Iran where he's just, it's not helping my headlines anymore. I'm done, I'm out. And he just quits dealing with it altogether and moves his focus somewhere else, trying to stir up more headlines. This is the problem with somebody who doesn't have much of a focus to begin with. Then you add in the dementia and everything else he is battling. It only continues to get worse. Let's see. We go back here. Hey, I won my appeal. Ha! They dropped my restriction for getting gifts. It is the dumbest shit, though, that they had me restricted for the gift because it was inorganic gift requests, even though I never request gifts hardly from anybody ever. And I've been restricted basically the majority of this live because of it. I think I've barely gone above 10 people in here the entirety of this live. Checking back in on the Senate race or the Senate primary race in Texas, rather. Talrico versus Jasmine Crockett. Remember, Jasmine Crockett only got into the race because she had decided that, or they had redistricted her area, and she didn't want to run in the new district, and she decided she would go for Senate. And Jasmine Crockett is now sitting at 46.7% to 52% for Talrico, with 69.6% of the vote in. And it is still too early to tell. So it is still way early. And more came in. Still looking about the same for Jasmine Crockett. This was one of the key races I was watching. I was hoping for Jasmine Crockett. If I would have been in Texas, that's who I would have voted for in this primary. I am not. I am in Iowa, so I don't get that option. I don't know what day our primary is here in June, but I'm going to get in as soon as early voting for the primary is an option. I'm going to get in, and I will be voting in the primaries for the Democrats, trying to help the people I want across the line. Rob Sand for governor, and I'm not even sure who's all in the Iowa Senate fight yet for the Democrats. But primary concern is getting a Democrat back in Terrace Hill, the governor's mansion here in Iowa. Maybe we can start to right the ship here and fix a bunch of the problems caused by the Republicans. I was talking with a coworker. We were talking about all of the changes to food stamps here in Iowa, and I was telling her about everything that the Republicans have done, and she didn't have any idea as to what I was talking about when I told her no bakery made cakes and cupcakes and cookies and all of that stuff. But then also no cake mixes, no flour, no sugar, no baking chips, baking soda, gravy mixes. Certain meats and cheeses are out. Only 100% juice. No tea, no soda, no bottled water. And the list went on. And she couldn't believe it. And I told her, I said, the whole plan here by the Republicans is to make it, hi, Bo, glad to see you, is to make it difficult to have people on assistance programs. So that way they can brag about all the number of people who are no longer on it and say, well, see, they were only on it because they were committing fraud, or they were only on it because they could get all of the junk food and they really didn't need it. No, you just made it way too difficult for people to use. And suddenly it's a false equivalency thing. They want to make they want to make all of the government assistance programs so difficult to use. It is not funny. Bo says, I hope you're well this evening. Oh, not doing too bad. I've been fighting with TikTok this entire live. I've had 2 restrictions put on. One appeal for them, didn't win the other. All over something that I wasn't even doing, but otherwise not doing too bad. We've been watching the race out of Texas for the Texas Senate seat. And right now, Jasmine Crockett is trailing James Talrico for the Democratic nomination for Senate. Currently 46.6% for Crockett, 52% for Talrico, with only 70% of the vote in. Obviously, I don't have the interactive map that the news agencies would have. I don't know if there is enough vote out there left. If there's even a possibility for Jasmine to gain. Brent says, could Crockett be House Speaker? Yes, but no. Yes, in that the Speaker of the House does not have to be an elected member of the House of Representatives. They just have to be voted in by the majority party. So if the Democrats get the majority, they could theoretically pick Jasmine Crockett. However, in the entire history of the House of Representatives, they have never selected somebody who was not a member of the House of Representatives going in. So it would be very hard for her to become Speaker of the House. Sean says, so difficult to use that people that don't need them will go back to work the fraud. What do you mean by that, Sean? That doesn't... I don't entirely know what you're saying there. Brent says, okay. Oh, yeah. Talking about Jasmine being Speaker of the House. Now, if she was able to somehow get reelected back into the House, yeah, and I think she would have been a great Speaker. Problem is, she chose not to run for the House because of the redistricting effort in Texas, which cost her her seat. Yeah. The whole thing here is that Go Live Vegas is out there. Nice to see you. Wish I was actually back in Vegas. It was nice out there. Haven't been there for a couple of years. I would love to go back. Head back down to Fremont. That would be fun. Go Like Vegas says, tap that screen, like, and share. I appreciate all the likes and the shares. Says, please send gifts. Which is funny because I've been restricted twice on this live for inorganic gift requests when I don't hardly ever ask for them. So that's kind of funny. Go Live Vegas is, where am I from? Iowa. It's about 30 degrees outside right about now, 25, something like that. Was last in Vegas a few years ago in February, and oh man, it was nice. Came back from Vegas to snowstorm. I hated that. Was able to walk around, didn't need a jacket or anything, and it was about a 40-degree temperature shift when I got back to Iowa. Oh, if I had the money, I'd spend every winter in Vegas. Although if I had that kind of money, most of the casinos would probably take it from me out there. But you know, that is what it is. Yeah, we've been watching. Vegas says, "Yep, you'll have to come back." Yeah, I hear tourism's been way down out there in Vegas. Affected entirely by this administration and their policies that nobody wants to go. Maybe that'll get the casinos to start offering, free airfare and better hotel deals. And, maybe they'd be willing to fly me back out there for a week. I'd love that. I wouldn't complain. Brent says Canadians aren't going. I heard that. I heard Canadians and I've heard some other groups aren't going to Vegas anymore. Tourism has hit a major snag. Not just in Vegas, in other places that are tourism based. And it's going to affect the economy. Blue says no one has the money to go. That's a good point. Rent's up. Groceries are up. The price of everything is up for the most part. Brent says USA all around. Yeah, the tourism is down all around from what I hear. I don't have the funds to go do any sort of major traveling right now. I would love to. Don't have the funds. And I don't have the time off work. Gotta pay the bills somehow. And what can you do? You know, the economy sucks. Groceries are up. Everything is up. Brent says, I'm going to Portugal. Well, nice, nice. Hope you enjoy it. Um, August? Okay, cool. Yeah, I hope you enjoy. Blue says groceries are ridiculous. They are. Example I use all the time, soda. You know, just hell, even during the height of COVID, you could still get, usually you could find deals four for $12 for 12 packs of soda. You know, even four for 10. Now they are sitting at, not on sale, like $9 to $10 a piece around here, and more in other markets. Brent says coffee is ridiculous. I don't drink coffee, but I'd believe it. I'd believe it. You know, it's his tariffs had a hell of an effect on it, even though they were ruled down unconstitutional. You can't put tariffs on something we can't grow here. Yes, I know Hawaii grows some coffee, but they don't grow enough to cover the entirety of the United States needs. Starbucks by itself would take out an entire year's harvest from Hawaii's coffee growing in less than 3 months. And that's just Starbucks. Princess Kona. Yeah, it's Kona coffee. But they only grow enough. They couldn't even keep Starbucks supplied for 3 months. We just don't have the climate here to grow coffee beans. It's true. You know, some things we can't grow here. You can't put tariffs on things like that and just expect them to magically grow here. You know, it just doesn't work. But see, Donald Trump doesn't understand economics at all. Not in the least. He still thinks, based on the way he talks, and because I guarantee you part of it is the dementia, that he thinks if he puts a tariff on China, for example, that money goes from the Chinese treasury into the U.S. Treasury, and there you go. We've made all this money. Brent says a lot of our local restaurants won't carry USA liquor and beer. Yeah, don't blame them. Don't blame them. I know I bought, what was it? I think I got some Crown Royal, right before one of his first batches of tariffs went in, just to do it, basically. It sounded good, and I wanted to get ahead of the tariffs, and I mean, I still have most of it sitting here, but, you know, I knew it was going to be way more expensive after, and even if his tariffs were deemed illegal, I knew prices weren't going to come back down. Now, his tariffs have been deemed illegal, and have prices come down? No. They haven't. Brent says, does he have to pay people back? I saw one article that said a judge is saying yes. The Supreme Court left that part blank, basically, in their decision, allowing for other court cases to deal with it down the road. I would think he would, but what I think is going to happen with that is they are going to end up putting the tariffs, if they do go back to the companies, say Walmart, it's going to end up being just a boost on their bottom line, calling it pure profit, and then giving bonuses to the CEOs and the top employees and, screw the American taxpayer. We will see if any of these court cases saying that he has to pay back the American people, how they all play out. We realistically should get that money back, but I just don't see it happening. His Treasury Secretary is saying that basically the money is gone and that the United States won't, we won't see it ever again. It is just considered lost, which is bullshit because, it never should have been collected in the first place. And if it is lost, where did it go? I think when this administration is gone, I think what you are going to see is, or what the Democrats need to do, is there needs to be a forensic account of all of the books, figure out where all of the money went, and if stuff went where it was not supposed to, the people involved should be held to account, and they should face any criminal charges that are necessary. Oh, Brent says, check the computer. What are the numbers now? Looking at the Texas race for Senate. Still too early to call. 72.5% of votes in, 52.5% for Talrico, Jasmine Crockett at 46.2%. So it is currently looking like, if these numbers hold, that Talrico will win the nomination in Texas for the Democrats to run for Senate. Now you are looking at a race that is currently on the Republican side, about the same number of the vote in. Brent says, so by midnight they should be at 100. Maybe. It really depends on how fast these places get their vote in. And if it gets to be within too close, it could trigger an automatic recount. It's not looking right now that it is going to trigger a recount, but we might have an answer by midnight Central. Probably more like, I'd say probably 2 Central. It's 11:15 Central now. So maybe by 2, if not by first thing in the morning. On the Republican side, they are saying it is going to be too close to call, heading to a runoff between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. Oh, Bren's at 9:15. Yeah, you're 2 hours behind us. Maybe by the time you guys hit midnight, they may have an answer. Yes, in about the next 3 hours. That is entirely possible. Again, as long as it doesn't get too close to where it triggers a recount. And if neither candidate gets over 50% of the vote, it would head to a runoff in, I think it's April, might be May. But either way, there would be a runoff like what is going to happen for the Republicans. The Republicans, it is way too close. It does not look like either candidate on the Republican side is going to get over 50% of the vote. And it looks like John Cornyn and Ken Paxton are going to head to a runoff where they will have to go head to head, and somebody will have to get 50%. Hopefully, Paxton ends up winning that runoff, not because I like Ken Paxton, but because I think he is the easier person to beat. Where am I at here on time? I'll go a little bit yet. I'm going to go just a little longer here. And then I'm going to have to call it, get it wrapped up so I can get it up and posted over on YouTube. So we are watching that. It is steadily progressing. They are making great progress here in Texas on getting everything counted. And again, looking at the numbers in Now that number has changed. You are looking at about a dead heat between number of people who voted for the Democrats. Democrats adding it up quickly here 30, 50, 66, 1,000, basically just a little over 1,750,000 voted so far for the Democrats. And on the Republican side, you are looking at about 1.7 million. So again, if these numbers hold, if the people only vote for the same parties that they voted for in the primary, there is a chance that the Democrat would win in November. And that could potentially be another pickup for the Democrats. If they pick up 4 seats in the Senate and hold all of the other races where they currently have elected Democrats, they would have control of the Senate for the last 2 years of Trump's administration. And that would mean Donald Trump would likely not get any Supreme Court nominations through or any other nominees through as far as it goes, because you would need Senate confirmation and they would be able to block everything. If they only pick up 3, that would lead to a 50-50 split, and J.D. Vance would be the tie-breaking vote, and that would end up not changing anything in the Senate. But if they can flip 4 seats, Democrats get the Senate. I think the Senate has a chance to flip. It is at least in play. Now, the House, I think, is a foregone conclusion considering Republicans are sitting on just 218 seats. If they lose even 1 and do not pick up any democratically controlled seats in November, that the Democrats would have control of the House. And I think it is entirely possible that the Democrats pick up 25, 30, maybe even 40 seats going forward. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there is a dog snoring on my couch behind me. So that's what is causing me to chuckle. She can sleep through anything except for me rustling any sort of a food container. And then obviously, she wants her share. Brent says, "Oh, bedtime." Yeah, she's got it so rough. All she has to do is sit and stare out a window and get petted all day. I don't know how she handles it. Brent says, "You hear her?" Okay. Yeah. She's tired from all the, looking at nothing and, getting petted and attention. She's just a mix. I don't know exactly what her breed actually is. Gigi says, "Our dogs are related." Yeah. Has it entirely too rough. She just thinks, she deserves all of the food, all of the attention, and doesn't help with anything else around here. Except for maybe the occasional bark at nothing. But, Brent says, "I have a Pom and a Border Collie Blue Heeler." Okay. I can get behind that. I like almost all dogs. I definitely like all dogs better than most people. And I've said before, she leaves things in the yard that are smarter than this current administration. Brent says, "A one-eyed Pom." All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Been going almost an hour 45. That way I can get it downloaded, get it posted up over on YouTube. Brent says Trump is anti-pets. Oh, definitely. He hates animals. And that's because animals are a good judge of character and they won't like him. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join me today. This is going to be tomorrow's podcast over on the Analytical Iowan podcast. You can catch the video version over on YouTube and the audio version on Spotify. I'm going to hopefully get Spotify caught back up. I'm a few days behind on getting everything posted. But I hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you the next time I go live.
That was Eric. That does it for our analysis today. If you appreciated us cutting through the noise to get to the critical context, please make sure you're subscribed to the Analytical Iowan podcast on Spotify and YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening.